a beautiful day and some nice bright sunny weather too for Dallas, so get out and enjoy.
WeatherScope.
Well, a crippling ice storm has left hundreds of thousands of residents in the state of Maine without power this afternoon, and it may be quite some time before power is restored. To get the latest on this ice storm in parts of New England, let's go to the Forecast Center and Jill Brown.
Okay, thanks, Declan. Yes, we have major problems in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, and over the border into Canada, where Montreal is saying perhaps this is the worst ice storm in history. So let's take a look at some of the scenes. We'll take you to Burlington, Vermont. A state of emergency has been declared in Chittenden County and Grand Isle, Vermont. Ice is weighing down trees and power lines across the New England area, causing extensive power outages. 20,000 homes are said to be without power in Burlington, Vermont, while a reported 600,000 people are without electricity in the state of Maine. We're going to double check on that number in just a moment. In Montreal, Canada, the numbers are even more staggering, in the millions. Millions of people without power, and of course that means without heat in most cases. So a lot of the shelters are open, and it may be a while before we see a real improvement in conditions, although conditions are beginning to change a little bit this afternoon. Take a look at a satellite picture here real quickly, and we'll kind of set the scene for you. Our area of low pressure is moving to the north, and we have this warm air trying to come northward. We did have record highs throughout this area yesterday, actually in the 70s, so it's hard to believe that a little bit farther to the north, temperatures have been real stubborn and stayed in the 20s to low 30s. And of course that has been the problem with all that rain coming over, that cold air at the surface. That's when you get the freezing rain. We want to check in now with Meredith Finn. She's a communications specialist with Central Maine Power. And Meredith, we know that we've heard that this is the most power outages you've ever had in the state of Maine. Is that true?
This is an unprecedented thing for us. It's definitely the biggest crisis that this company has faced. We have tremendous damage.
We have had the number 600,000 people or homes without power. Is that about right, or do you have an estimate?
We have about 275,000 homes without power, which we're calling 600,000 people or so, because most homes have more than one person living there.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, because there's so much ice, can your crews get out there and get to fixing things at this point?
They're out there and they're working really hard to, but it's been a frustrating process and really difficult to make any progress, because as soon as they get one line up, the next one goes down. In Augusta, where our corporate office is, we have 60 broken poles in this area alone.
So what kind of estimate do you have on when everyone should see their power restored?
Oh, several days, definitely, and that's if we get that warm weather you were talking about.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Meredith Finn with Central Maine Power. We'll hope for some warmer weather, but doesn't look very promising. Let me take a look at the satellite once again, and we'll actually go in and take a look at a visible, because there is a little something going on here, and you can pick it out fairly well. You see through here, looks like some thin spots in the clouds, a few breaks, and then it looks a little bubbly. Those are actually thunderstorm clouds that are developing. And now in Burlington, Vermont, reporting 33 degrees, and that is with thunder showers and snow pellets, heavy rain and heavy snow pellets and thunder. So we do have some thunderstorms that have made their way up into the colder air, and that will mix things up a little bit. There's actually warmer air higher in the atmosphere, so mixing things is good. That brings that warmer air down toward the surface. So we do have some rain up here. Is that good or bad? Well, that's certainly questionable, because if we get any gusty winds with those thunderstorms, we get any hail, the rain coming down could bring more limbs down, and unfortunately it probably is not likely to stay rain long enough to melt all of the ice. Still, for Maine, it's ice. From Portland to Bangor, that would be freezing rain that you're seeing coming across here. And in central New York, actually, we've had some severe thunderstorm warnings. These are some pretty strong thunderstorms through here, with the biggest threat being large hail. And of course, it's warm enough until you get up to about Watertown here that it would be all rain. Then farther north, it's going to be freezing rain, and as mentioned, some of those snow pellets around Burlington, Vermont. You can see that our latest information shows lightning strikes in a line with that thunderstorm, that line of thunderstorms heading to the east. Here is the surface map. Now, still a lot of freezing rain through here, with some pockets that are getting rain, that are getting the snow pellets. Our warm front just really hasn't budged. We need that warmer air to come farther north, and at this point it looks like we may see some of a warm-up through this evening. Some places may change over briefly. The problem is then after sunset, chances are temperatures will drop again. So you've just added more water to the mix to go back into freezing temperatures. So if you're in this area, in the hot pink, chances are you're stuck at home. Maybe some of your neighbors are without power. Certainly many people are. Back in New York State, threat of severe weather and also flooding. Been a lot of heavy rain. This is going to be a problem that lasts certainly into the next few days, and that no real warm air is expected in these locations. So the rain may stop, but the ice is not likely to go away. So we'll keep you up to date on the problems in the Northeast. If you'd like to check it out on the internet, it's weather.com. In the meantime, Declan Cannon is in the studio, and he can tell you about what's going on across the rest of the country.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jill. There is more cold air certainly in the forecast, as you'll see in a moment, and the snow, well, it's ended in Chicago. These are the scenes last night as the snow was continuing to fall, and it did manage to pick up anywhere from 2 to 6 inches of snow across northeast Illinois as a result of this particular weather system. As we mentioned, the snow is gone today, and now we're setting the stage for part 2. That's the blast of colder air, which will be arriving tonight. Very cold air located behind this cold front from western Wisconsin all the way down into northeastern Kansas. How cold? Well, if you look at the current temperatures, 20 at Des Moines, 5 at Sioux Falls, and we have 13 in the Twin Cities, Chicago at 33. But this is the type of air that is moving towards Chicago in the next 24 hours. 12 at Chicago already. That's the wind chill, but you haven't seen anything yet. Wait till tomorrow during the afternoon, when stronger winds combined with the much colder temperatures, which should be in the 20s at that time. We're going to have some wind chills in Chicago running below zero. And the current wind chills here in the northern plains of the upper Midwest, even as far west as Montana, dangerously low at times. When we get some of these stronger wind gusts, some of the numbers are really getting a little bit ridiculously low. In fact, Glasgow, Montana, within the past hour, wind chill of 53 below zero. That is dangerously low. And 51 below here in western North Dakota. That's at Williston. Now, moving to the south and west to start to warm it up a little bit, we do have a system coming into California today, but it's in the process of weakening. So we're getting a little less rain and snow than we originally anticipated, at least the way it looked yesterday. A couple of inches of snow possible in the Sierra. We're getting some snow now. Showers down in the low terrain. You can see on radar the rain generally tracking up here to the north. And there is a little bit of heavier precipitation over the hills in northwest coastal California. Around Humboldt, Mendocino counties, we do have some heavier rain. And even in Southern California, from Santa Barbara heading down the coast past Carpinteria into Los Angeles itself, some rain continuing. 2 separate splotches of rain, actually, when you look at the closer perspective. San Diego, western Riverside County, you're in the rain now, and that'll last probably another hour or two. A break around LA, and then heading up the coast We run back into the rain from Santa Maria up to Santa Barbara. Rain actually could be heavy for a brief period of time, as the radar does seem to indicate a fair amount of moisture coming in Southern California. So this system comes in, and actually the upper part of it is still way back here to the west, so we have a ways to go. We'll get a very brief break, and then the next system promises to bring some, well, how should we say, some interesting or exciting weather, depending on your perspective. In Seattle, it may be cold enough, and there may be enough moisture around to give us some snow before the weekend is through. So here's our first system. This is the one that moves eastward, moves inland and weakens, but it'll give some overrunning rain and snow, the moisture coming into the cold air across the Wasatch in Utah. Lake effect snow, and the lake effect will be heavy at times with some of this Arctic air moving over the warm waters of the Great Lakes. And in the southeast, keeping it fairly quiet with some high pressure overhead, so no major changes here. You notice the precipitation, heaviest snow in the lakes and across the Sierra, and we're going to be dealing with that cold air for quite some time, especially from Montana heading east into North Dakota, South Dakota, and western